Doom v Vamos v Vamos Epicureans. This is the BCE Comics Pod one-shot edition. I'm your host, Nick Smith, and I'm joined by...
Stojr from Stojr Shop. How's it going, Nick?
I'm doing well, particularly since we are participating in Kurtis Findlay's Epic Marvel Podcast Reading Club, and this one-shot is going to be our brief thoughts on today's issue, which is Wolverine #1. Now, how do we differentiate this? Is this Wolverine the Mini Series? Is this Wolverine Volume 1, the Limited Series? What verbiage do we use here?
Yeah, I think the Wolverine Mini Series works. It's an odd decision that Marvel didn't collect this in the first Wolverine Epic Collection. So this Epic Collection doesn't kick off till 1988, right around the time when his full series kicks off. And Wolverine has basically had a full series, a regular series since then. It's rebooted in different volume numbers and things of that nature, but I think they're coming up on where they just passed issue 400 of that or something in those lines. So maybe it was 300, but something like that, some big milestone.
Yeah, I don't
So
know.
it's been a while.
I was reading the Wolverine series for a little while, but then it started to get into the gold adamantium was talking to people, and then it just started to get a little too weird for me, and I decided I'd bow out and save some money for other stuff.
Yeah, I did not pick up the post Krakoa stuff if that's what you're referencing. So
It
I
might be.
gotta I'm out of the loop. Anything after Krakoa.
All right. Well, anyway, this first time Wolverine gets his own series. This one is written by Chris Claremont with pencils by Frank Miller and inks by Joseph Rubinstein. So that duo that we just saw in Daredevil recently. Alright, so when Wolverine's lady friend, Mariko Yashida, stops responding to his attempts to speak with him, Wolverine decides to fly to Japan and find out just what is happening. Well, it turns out Mariko's father is not dead, as we had thought, but he's instead married his daughter off to some dude who beats her, so that her father can be relieved of some debts, or plan his underworld takeover, or I don't fully remember, to be honest. Wolverine confronts this new husband, but it turns out that... No, not turns out, that's the wrong phrase. In turn, he is confronted by Mariko's father, who is an expert swordsman, and one who easily defeats and humiliates Wolverine. Alright, Stojr, what are your thoughts here?
I mean, I think it really sets like the tone for Wolverine, going forward. I think we've had, basically two issues of Uncanny X-Men where Wolverine's by himself, sort of showing some how he's a badass. But this series is really going to ramp that up. He's literally by himself for the whole limited series, other than the people that guest star and new characters introduced, obviously. But there's no other X-Men in this series for him to be on a team dynamic. The cover here is iconic. They've redone this cover multiple times. They've also redone this cover in the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. So Hugh Jackman did this exact pose because they were reenacting that moment in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
As far as movies too, the opening scene with the bear and the poacher was done in the Wolverine. Yes, the Wolverine movie. So the Wolverine movie is not bad. So
Is this the
Wolverine
Origins?
Origins is bad.
Okay.
No, so Wolverine Origins is the bad one.
Right, okay.
That's the one that shows his Weapon X days. He's more in Canada, things like that. That's got really weird CGI for some reason, even though it came out after the X2 or movie or X3. The Wolverine was his first like solo movie. It's very much follows this limited series, but not exactly. So it starts off with this bear thing. He goes to Japan in that limited series, in that movie rather. He fights the Silver Samurai, which we'll see later. So there's all of that type of stuff, but it's different. Not a bad movie. And then you get the excellent Old Man Logan. So there's but this scene almost exactly not like a shot for shot remake, but the concept of a poisoned bear and a poacher who didn't do his job right, and him confronting him in a bar, and the movie fleshes out more. Here you just see him Logan get knocked down, and then he just says that he takes care of the poacher. In the movie you see how he actually takes care of the poacher and sort of moves into that. So all very good there. I think there's a much more adult tone to this. I mean, you get sort of the spousal abuse elements in here. There's this feels like a more mature book than anything we've gotten so far from Marvel Wolverine. Frank Miller's art is really good. It's really solid in here. Although I will say that there are some panels that or pages that kind of start to look like Frank Miller in his later career that I'm not as big of a fan on. But whenever it skews more to the way he's drawing things in Daredevil, I'm a big fan. And for this first issue, that's probably 99% of the issue. Like it all looks really good. And I think part of that is too, he's taking advantage of like white space or negative space in a lot of these panels, right? You go to 182 and 183 for the sword fight. Almost no backgrounds in that whole 2-page spread. It's just a white background or a colored background or things like that. It looks really cool and looks really striking, and it gives him the ability to focus much more on the characters in the drawing versus having to draw something that has a lot of background elements. Even if you move to the next page with, sort of Wolverine on the streets, it's almost like a noir movie where you're kind of panning through the streets and you see all of the neon lights and things like that, but they all kind of blur together, and it evokes that very much so. So I think this is a really cool introduction of Wolverine by himself. I think it's laying out a lot of intrigue. You don't have any sort of crazy supervillains here. It feels like almost like a mafia story, but a Yakuza version of that in Japan. What are your thoughts?
This is actually the first time I read this miniseries. So this was a treat for me. Obviously, as you said, we are establishing that gritty, quintessential Wolverine here. The first person narration, the short, the direct comments, definitely feels like that noir type of thing you mentioned, the sort of thing that Frank Miller really likes. And of course, Claremont is clearly working with him on that. To that point, let me see. On page 178 here, I love this little exchange. Now, granted, this is Mariko's father, and his face just kind of fills the entire panel. But him saying here, your Japanese is as flawless as my English, Wolverine. Yes, I also know who and what you are, but your tone is rude, your manner disrespectful. And he just replies with, yep. Right? I just love that. Replying just yep. He's not even using the word yes, right? He's using a slang term, which just kind of underlines the rudeness. So I appreciated that. And as you were saying, Miller's art is great. I'm not sure I'm quite as enamored with this as what we saw in the Daredevil run, but the cinematic nature of the fight between Logan and Lord Yashida, right? That we have all of these very wide but short panels, so it feels like you're watching a samurai flick, right? That I think was just really well done, and as you were saying, little to no talking. It's not even needed, and this page here with all the white space and just the characters fighting, just really well done. So yeah, really enjoyed this, and I'm excited for where this is going. All right, I do have a no prize for this one, Stoger.
All right, let's hear it.
All right. The Pet Name Award goes to Josie's Bar, which apparently exists in Canada as well as in New York City. Although I think in Canada it's Josie's Bar and Grill, which is maybe a bit more appropriate for out west. Clearly Miller likes the name, right? So the question is, did Miller request this bar be called Josie's Bar, or did Claremont run with it as a nod to Miller's Josie Bar and Daredevil? I don't know. This limited series, this miniseries, came out after Miller started working on Daredevil, so clearly this is a Miller name. Whether Claremont went with it or not for fun, I don't know.
Now I need to look up who's Josie. Like, I don't know anything about the writers. Like, is that his wife? Is that a girlfriend? Is that just, is that his mom's name?
That's an excellent point. I never even considered that there might be a real life Josie. I'm familiar with Josie's bar from other things. It shows up in Spider Man once or twice. I don't know if those were issues that Frank Miller wrote of Spider Man because he did do a couple, or if it was just other writers kind of playing on that. It's convenient to have a bar with thugs that you can beat up for information.
Yeah.
I never thought if there's a real life Josie. Yeah, maybe that's worth looking into. All right, Stojr, any other final thoughts?
No, look forward to the next issue.
All right, well, once again, if you guys enjoy our thoughts, follow us on YouTube. We are going to read, rate, and review a full big collected edition comic once a month, plus these daily one-shots. So thank you very much, and we'll see you all next time.